Hey guys, Scooter99 here. Been working on the amp rack today. You can see there's some progress. It's gray now instead of all kinds of different filler and orange felt pieces. Had a little bit of an issue on this part. I used some gray filler primer, as you can see, and then did some spot filling, but I had some issues with it not sanding real well. Here, let's see if we can get close here. And see, it's kind of like, I don't know if the filler just didn't dry enough or what. I got it kind of sanded out now. It doesn't look very good as far as looks go, but it is smooth. There are probably a little bit of dimples in it, but I think with what I'm finishing it with, you may not see that. Got this little spot up here too. But I think it's going to work out. I'm going to go ahead and paint it with some more primer, and we'll see where it goes from there, how it looks after that, and then we'll see about covering it. So I will return later with some end results and post that up with this video as well. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Just got done priming the amp rack. I used this Valspar primer. It sucks. I won't ever use this again. I highly recommend do not use this. It seemed very thin, very watered down. Didn't cover very well. I had a hard time with it. So just a little recommendation there. I would not use this stuff. I would stick with the other reliables, Rust-Oleum, and some of the others. Here's the amp rack. You can see it's all painted, primered gray. Some of the spots aren't as bad as I thought they were. I think the color difference really made it look worse than it was. You can see there's some imperfections in there. Now, if I was painting this, I'd be very upset with this, and I'd have to fix it all. But because I'm not, I'm going to cover it. I think it'll be okay for the most part. And once the primer dries, I'll do some more sanding. This is the worst corner. This is where I really had a lot of problems. You can see it really just moved the material, didn't sand it down. And again, I don't know if that's because of the primer not being dry, or maybe I didn't have enough hardener in the filler. I don't know, but it is what it is. And again, it's not paint, so we'll have to work with that. I'll figure it out. Up here, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if the camera's focusing well or not, but this is the other part that I did. It looks like it needs a little more sanding, but I think it'll be okay. I'm just kind of moving around the whole thing here. Just kind of giving you an idea. I've only used 100 grit. I haven't gone over this again with 150. I was going to, but I don't think I'm going to now, or I may, I don't know. But that's about where I'm at now with this. I'm going to let this dry a little bit. I've got a fan over here, as well as my overhead fans. Come on, focus. There it goes. As well as my overhead fans. And I will work on letting this dry. I've got something else I have to do with the house, so that'll give it perfect time to go ahead and do that. And we'll come back to this and see what I can get done, what else I can get done tonight. Stay tuned, more to come. Okay, so this is the last video for today. Didn't get nearly as far as I wanted to, but I did get a lot done. You can kind of see here. I have the amps kind of set in there because, well, frankly, I couldn't stand it. I wanted to see what it looked like. Looks pretty good with the black on black, but that's not how I'm going to finalize it. I'll hold that off for later. Some of you know, some of you don't. Those that know, keep your mouth shut. Those that you don't, probably should be the next couple of nights I still have a few more things to do to get it ready. Let me just give a little bit of a rundown here. Things that I'm kind of watching for. We'll go to the front first. You can kind of see the clearance issues. There isn't much in the way of clearance issue here. I mean, I can barely fit my finger in between those. So you can kind of see there's a lot of issue with the front, which is why I had to change this back piece, because the previous one came probably half this distance. I would have really had no clearance for RCAs, and the reason it has to be this close even is because in the back it's even worse for the power. I know it doesn't look that bad, but keep in mind that also I'm going to have dual inputs and reducers here. Let me go grab those here over in my area. I have to remember where I put them. Here they are. So here is the reducers and the dual input that I have going in. The reducers are for the 4-channel amp, which is this one here. And you can kind of see here that once it's all the way in, I mean, I still have to get a 1-gauge cable in there. So there's not a ton of clearance. I do have room to work. If I had to go back a little bit, I could, but I'd prefer not to. I want to make sure that these are not stressed at all. And then looking at the dual, you can kind of see there that there just isn't much room, and that's pretty much where it would be. So I'm going to end up having 2 1-gauge cables coming out of there, so space is definitely going to be tight back here. Not really going to be seen because the sub enclosure is going to cover most of this, but that for me it doesn't make much of a difference. I want it to be as if it was fully exposed. I want to make sure it's nice and clean. And the other issue I had on this amp rack is the way that the wheel well is made. The symmetrics are off in that this really is according to the trunk where it lays out the best, where the radius is here in the back and everything. This is how it really laid out the best. And as you can see, I've got 2.5 to 3 inches over here, but I have almost nothing over here. It moves in here. It doesn't move in quite so much on the other side. You can see it's almost straight. There isn't quite that angle, but I went in with just glassed the whole trunk well, and this is what I ended up with. So this is what I had to use, and with the radiuses and the lengths of the amps, it's really where it needs to be. So what's left? I need to do the anchors for the amps, and I'm also going to put in some hinges so that I could lift the amps up. I don't know if I can do it with one hand, but so that I could lift the amps up a little bit so that I could get to the adjustments for tuning. Because again, the sub enclosure is going to come about halfway into the amp rack. I'm not going to have a whole lot of room to lift the amp up, but I also have to be able to get to the settings if I have to tune or retune or whatever. I'm sure I could figure out a way to do it without having to lift the amps up. I don't know, I could probably use a dental mirror or something crazy, but I would rather not have to do that. This back panel is probably going to get cut down a little bit. I have to look. I have to put it back in the trunk and see if I can cut it down there, because I believe I have the trim panel. Actually, it's over here. That is going to go back in. I will most likely cover this to match somehow. Either to match the inside, or it will match the top, whatever I do on the top. I haven't quite decided that yet. So I have to figure that out still. And so that back wall will most likely come down a little bit, and that'll help with the settings also. But that's pretty much where I'm at for now. Again, I was hoping to get more done tonight, but it's gotten too late, and quite frankly, I'm tired. It's been a long weekend, so I will be back at it sometime this week. It'll go to little bits and pieces, few nights a week, and hopefully you'll start seeing a lot more progress get done. The electrical, as you can see in the shop, is all done. The lights, there really are no shadows in this shop, as you can see. It puts out great light. I'm just absolutely completely happy with how it looks. You have the box, as you can see over here. I've got my compressor. I've got my lights and fans on a solo. I've got my outside plugs on its own breaker. I've got the right bench plugs. I've got an isolated plug. That was for the bench grinder and the drill press. I don't know that I'll be running those at the same time, but I have those that will be on this plug over here, and that will be isolated from everything else. It's just all for overkill and make sure I have no issues with electrical. And then I only have a few plugs over here, but that's the other one, this one here. And then I have an extra here, and I have a 30 amp here. I'm going to be doing an air conditioning here sometime. Probably not going to be this summer, but probably sometime between now and next summer. And I want that to be isolated on that breaker. I did land a mini fridge, so that'll be kind of cool to have out here. I won't have to go anywhere for my refreshments, and that'll go right here where the trash can is. And I'll probably run another plug for that. But the only other thing I wanted to show you guys, which I'm very happy with, is the light I did outside. You can kind of see here, other than my clamp it backyard because everything's been being worked on. But you can kind of see here. Let me turn the inside light off. You can see how dark it is out here. And this is the contrast with the outside light. I mean, it really brightens things up. And that shadow there is from this box here. And I need to get things cleaned up. A lot of this is trash. And that'll be going away soon. So that's it for tonight. Like I said, I'll be back at it here in the next few days. I'll give you one more quick look at the amp rack, just the test fit here, and I think that's it. Stay tuned, lots more to come.